Hey YouTube, season 5 of Alone on the History Channel is over, and this is my recap and summary, kind of just a commentary, just a very informal commentary of some of my thoughts about season 5. In my opinion, this was the best season yet, just because if you follow the seasons, you kind of have knowledge of the people, you have some type of understanding, if not maybe even a relationship with them, if you follow them on social media. And so overall, there's just a lot there to like. Now, every contestant, has their pros and cons. It has their strengths and weaknesses. And we definitely saw that as the season went, on. But there were definitely some surprises. And just for me personally, I was really surprised with Carly having the fish hook in her hand so early on and having to leave. That kind of blew my mind. I was also surprised that Britt was able to go so long. That totally surprised me. So congrats to Britt. Even though there's a lot of controversy about how much footage that was used during the season, because it's true that they used a lot of Britt's material, and I'm not sure if just because that was good content, compared to what they had, or if they were trying to mislead people toward the end, because a lot of people said, well, it kind of looks like that they're setting Britt up to be the winner. And of course, at the very end, Sam pulls through, and I did have Sam in the very end, and in my personal list, my private list, if you will. I never shared that list, but I had Randy, Larry, Dave, and Sam kind of in the final four, if you will. And I was still kind of a little bit up in the air, but when Randy tapped out, which is my next big surprise that I want to share, I was shocked because I think he had some of the best going on, in terms of shelter and just overall, he was physically doing well. It seemed like that he was catching enough food. It just seemed like overall he was doing great, but mentally he just didn't have it, and I was just kind of, I don't want to say let down, but I was just really surprised. Let's just say that. So I just kind of, I guess maybe I was wanting Randy to actually win more than, that I saw the potential. I just kind of wanted it. And because he's a very likable guy, and I really do believe he has the potential to go much further than what he did. He just decided not to do it. So when it got to the final three, in the last episode, the episode 10 on season 5, I was really kind of not sure because it kind of set up Sam as having this stomach problem and he couldn't have a bowel movement. Larry seemed like that he was really, really starving and he just couldn't take it much longer. And then they showed Britt as doing really good. So I was like, crap. Okay, what we have here is probably Sam going out next, and then Larry, and then you're going to probably have Britt as the winner. Even though that's not exactly what I was thinking, that I really wanted it to happen. Because we all have our preferences on who we want to win. It's just how we are. And I tell you what, though, I was like, once Sam said, oh, I had a bowel movement early on in the episode, I was like, whoa, game on. He's certainly a contender to win. And then Larry dropped, and then Britt, because I was really unsure about how that was going to work out. But when Britt dropped, I was just like, whoa, man, I felt so good for Sam. And of course, I wish the best for every contestant. Just because I wasn't rooting for a certain person doesn't mean, that I wanted them to get injured or, anything like that. But it was just like, when you have your favorite contestants do well, just people that you just, on a deeper level, just connect with, and you just want for them to succeed. Sam was one of those for me, and I was like, whoa, that's so awesome. It's so awesome, he really wanted to be a provider for his family, and he is. And so this kind of leads us to the whole thing about the prize money. Of course, it's common sense that the $500,000 is really just $250,000 after tax. But you could still do a lot with that money. You could buy a starter home, one or two, decent cars. Maybe you could buy new cars, but it would be smarter to buy maybe like a 3 or 4 year old car that's in excellent condition. Put some money back, for retirement and for a rainy day, maybe for your kids' college. Just put a bunch of money back. In fact, as much as you can possibly put back. And that's just kind of how I would go about it if I was Sam, because Sam is still so young. He doesn't have a house. He doesn't have a good car. Apparently, he has no savings. It's just like he was saying in that last episode there, that he was just kind of barely making it. And so good for him for winning. So congratulations to Sam. Now, what about other contestants? Now, I'm not going to go through each person that was on there, but I'm just going to kind of think just randomly here and see if, Nicole, for example. I mean, I felt so bad for Nicole. I really did think that she was going to go a lot further, but of course, of her complications with her illness, horrible, just horrible. And I feel for her, and I hope she's doing okay. And from what I understand, she is doing a lot better. Another contestant, let's talk about Dave. I was a little surprised that he tapped out when he did, but I kind of understand of how far he pushed himself last time, so I completely don't blame him. He didn't really come on having a lot of body weight anyways. So I think that he actually weighed a little more than in the season that he was in previously, but he still probably needed another 15, 20 pounds to possibly win the game, and he just didn't have it. And he was getting kind of concerned because he was talking about that it took a matter of months just for his body, in particular his digestive system, to kind of get back to normal after that last season. So he didn't want to go through all that pain and suffering. Now, what was really interesting about Larry, though, is that he talked about his fallout, when he was on his previous season, and that he didn't want to be, the loser, but at the same time, he started to realize that the world that he didn't want to live in was actually not that bad to begin with. That he had a loving family, he has loving friends, his job isn't that bad, and he has a lot to be thankful for. And I think this goes a long way toward, how people think. When they are in these situations, it changes the way people think, even for the long term. So for him, and I'm talking about Larry here, it was as if he already won $500,000. In fact, he kind of had a revelation. And so that's valid, and overall it's a fun show. I can't say that I really enjoyed watching people suffer. That was kind of not my, most interesting aspects, but I loved when they showed skills and they showed knowledge in the show, which they didn't do a lot of, but they kind of spread it out throughout the show. So in future episodes or future seasons, I wish that they would introduce a lot more of that in their episodes, a lot more skills, lots more outdoor knowledge, instead of trying to kind of just hang on the drudgery or the drama, if you will, of just starving or suffering. Because I don't think really a lot of people want to watch that part. In the future, if they do another redemption, like in 5 more seasons from now, like, season 10 or something, I think that maybe they want to be maybe a little more careful about who they pick. There were at least one contestant, and I'm just going to be really nice and not name the person, but I think we know who he is. But this particular contestant that left really early, I don't know why he was chosen. He was not in the right mind frame, if you will. And I guess, at least in my opinion, it would be really embarrassing to be that person. And so I think that maybe they need to be a little bit more careful when they screen, contestants. But I think a good 80% of the contestants chosen were just fine. So there was about 2 people in my estimation that probably shouldn't have been there. But, maybe they showed unbelievable abilities and skills when they were, filtering people out, when they were trying to figure out who was going to be contestants. So maybe certain people shine in different ways in different types of situations, in different environments. But overall it was okay. It was just, sometimes I get these, questions, about, alone. And I'm not any type of expert survivalist. In fact, I don't really know how you would become an expert survivalist. There are some places you can go, groups that you can go and get somewhat of a certification in different things, but a lot of those certifications are kind of self-generated. They're just kind of made up based on a certain criteria someone makes. So to actually objectively say that, I'm a real survivalist, I don't know how you go about that, but there are people that have a tremendous amount of experience outdoors. And I think it would be probably a lot more objective to say, hey, I'm an experienced outdoors person, And, here are things to learn. And I think that that's kind of where I think the show continues for a lot of people. It's not so much that you want to be an expert survivalist, but you just want to know more about your environment, more about your surroundings. And that's what I kind of take from that show. I take from the show that I just kind of have more of a yearning to know more. And by no means would I ever want to subject myself to that kind of abuse. I think the show is almost like a form of self-abuse. Of course, they willingly do it, but I'm not going to do that to my body for that amount of money. It's a lot of money though, and it would be very tempting, but I just don't think it would be worth it. Some people do think it's worth it, and Sam certainly thought it was worth it. He really put his body through it. And I thought it was amazing. I really did, that he lasted 60 days. I think it was 4 days after Britt tapped. I guess it took 4 days for them, the crew, to fly out Sam's wife to get there to Mongolia. So he actually lasted 4 days past the last contestant. I'm not sure if you noticed that was pretty cool. And, overall, though, it's like, what would you do with the money? Is really a big question that I would have. How would you really maximize it? Because it would be something that I would want to be as frugal and just as thrifty in the best way possible. I'd want to make sure every dollar and cent was accounted and it was going through a good cause or a good purpose. But when you look at Sam at 60 days in that environment, that's what really kind of at the very end of the show gave me some pause. 60 days. That's tremendous. It really is tremendous. Now, people can say, well, he had a lot of extra body weight and so forth, and it wasn't as difficult possibly for him. I'm sure it was difficult for him, but yes, he did have a lot more reserves on his body. So that is a fact. But he still had the mental strength to continue on, which is in some cases a larger factor than if you have extra body fat or not. But I personally kind of gave the limit of the show about 45 days. And I never really told anybody but just a close family member recently. I was like, you know what? I'd be actually surprised if they breached 45 days. And on season 5, episode 10 here on Alone, they kind of blew that out of the water when they hit 60 days. And I just find it really amazing. And it seemed like Sam could have gone a few more days. That's the crazy part about this. Maybe even up to another week. I don't know. He said he had just a little bit left in him. But I'm like, holy moly, can you imagine that? Breaching past 60 days in that environment. I think that's really cool. And so once again, congratulations to Sam. Congrats to the runner-up, Britt. And, even Larry. Larry, you did great, man. And I think we're all really proud of you, Larry. And I know that you struggled so hard, especially in the last season you were on. You really had a struggle. And I know that's probably going to be in the back of your mind of how close you were to winning. But at the same time, you knew it was time to go. Just like, Dave knew that it was time to go. And so if you really know that you hit your low and hit your bottom and you hit your wall, and I think some of them actually went a few days past their breaking point, from what I saw, that you did all you could do. And there's no reason to put yourself in harm's way over this show. And so these are my thoughts. And this concludes season 5 of Alone from the History Channel. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I know I didn't include all the cast members in this discussion. It doesn't mean that I think, low of them or anything like that. There's just some people I just don't really have a comment, I just don't really know what to say. And, but I did, I did have to say that, to some of my friends recently that it was kind of a roller coaster at times, and it was a little bit more unpredictable of who was going to actually get further in this particular season than in past, in my opinion. And so I thought that was kind of fun in a way, because you're kind of always on pins and needles. And I thought also that this season kind of went so fast. And I'm not sure if it's just maybe because it's a couple episodes less than maybe like in previous seasons. At least I think it is, because it's only like 10 episodes, 11 if you count episode 0. But I was thinking to myself, weren't past episodes or past seasons like I think they had 12 episodes. But anyways, I just was thinking to myself, this season went by so fast. And maybe it's just that life goes by so fast, and so the next week is already here. It just seemed like that, when I got done watching one episode, a few days later, another one came out, even though it was a whole week later. So I guess it's just time goes by fast. But hey, I just wanted to share these thoughts. It's nothing groundbreaking, it's nothing like shocking if you watch the show. But I think it's kind of something important to kind of recap for ourselves, and to, discuss what did we learn from this, because people suffered and people really gave a lot of energy and focus to accomplish something. And I think that there's certainly something to learn from it. Maybe not at the moment, but maybe later in your life, you can look back and go, you know what? I think I can understand what so-and-so said. And so, yeah, thanks for joining me on this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to once again to hear your thoughts on season 5 of Alone. If you watched the show, if you haven't, feel free to ask questions if you want. But I would, encourage you. I was gonna say recommend, but encourage you to watch the season. It's just one of those things that could benefit you in preparedness. Some of the seasons were very light, and some of the strategies and information and skills that were shown, and then other episodes in the season 5 were a little bit better. And so you kind of get a mixed bag. I think that the show overall is more about the emotional aspects and the kind of the inter-drama of what the person goes through mentally, and then secondarily physically when they go through this experience. And some people even have some spiritual experiences. But I think overall, it's just like what happens to regular people that have some knowledge of, self-sufficiency and survival instincts and skills. What do you go through? And these people are not like, super well-known high-end experts in the outdoor craft. Some of them have only been in it for a few years, believe it or not. And so, how much longer could a professional, even though I'm not sure if there's a such thing as that title, how much longer could actually someone that's much more seasoned last in that situation? Could they just last indefinitely? That's been a question a lot on various forums. How long can you really last if you just had all the information at your disposal? It would be kind of cool to know that. But once again, I think it probably is situational, though. Just depends on where you are in the world and who you are and your backgrounds. But anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you later.